Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. In a covered skating rink in Barcelona, Anna and her father Sebastian are having fun skating when they suddenly hear something outside and decide to stop. They run, but they are surprised by a group of blind people who attack them, demanding Sebastian's backpack which contains food. Sebastian lets them have it, and then he and his daughter put on their sunglasses and venture out into the streets. They witness a destroyed city, a result of people being overtaken by beings that cannot be looked at because anyone who sees them instantly kills themselves. People must wear painted glasses or blindfolds to see nothing. Later, Sebastian and his daughter encounter blindfolded people who are searching for supplies. Fearful for Anna's safety, Sebastian tells her to hide until he returns while he goes to find something for them. Sebastian communicates with the people, and sensing an ominous wind, they become fearful as it signifies the beings approaching. They decide to help Sebastian and quickly take him to their hiding place in a bus terminal, where several people, including a doctor named Liliana, are present. Liliana tends to Sebastian's wounds. Later, she takes him to eat, and they join a group of people. Sebastian looks at a man named Lazaro, whose eyes are completely closed due to burns. Lazaro explains that the danger is not just the unknown beings, as there are also people who have seen them and not died but have been controlled to find others and force them to see the beings, resulting in their deaths. He recounts witnessing a woman he knew being captured, having an eye drawn on her forehead, and then hearing screams. To save himself, he quickly used a knife to blind himself and escape. That night, Sebastian goes to where some keys are located and takes them. Liliana wakes up and realizes that Sebastian is trying to start the bus. He locks himself in the cabin and finds the key to start the bus. Liliana and the others who were sleeping inside wake up in a panic and try to open the cabin. While Sebastian drives to exit the large garage, they manage to enter the cabin, but they cannot stop Sebastian, who crashes into other buses, causing people to fall. He heads toward the exit gate and manages to leave, but the bus eventually overturns when it encounters a pile of debris. After they exit the bus, Sebastian and one of the men witness a being approaching them. Sebastian's gaze changes as if he were possessed, while the other man is overtaken and ceases to exist in this world. Through Sebastian's possessed eyes, a light leaves the man's body and ascends to the sky. Liliana steps out of the car, but Sebastian stands in front of her. He grabs her and forces her to open her eyes, causing Liliana to see the being and succumb to its deadly influence. The only survivor is Lazaro, who is saddened by the loss of his friends after one of them explodes the bus, taking everyone inside with them. Then, Anna arrives, and it becomes apparent that she is merely an illusion, a means of communication for the being to interact with Sebastian and fulfill the being's purpose, which is to make everyone see them and die. Sebastian is promised that after all this, he will go to a beautiful place to reunite with his deceased daughter and wife. The scene shifts to 9 months earlier, before the beings arrived on Earth, where Sebastian is an engineer and the head of a wind turbine company. He receives a call informing him that many of his workers have been seen jumping from the turbines and dying. Back at the company, he listens to news on the car radio reporting accidents that have killed dozens of people. When he arrives at the building, the employees are fleeing in panic, while his wife Laura tells him to watch the news. Dozens of people worldwide are shown taking their own lives without any explanation. One of his employees takes their own life right behind him, and when he is startled and returns home, another person jumps from the top of the building and lands on his car. The streets are in chaos, so Sebastian heads to the metro station, where many people are waiting for the train. Stones begin to float, and Sebastian finds the situation strange and confusing, so he quickly leaves in the opposite direction. Suddenly, when the train arrives, people are attracted to the tracks without any fear of death. After witnessing this, Sebastian continues running and goes to the Catholic school to pick up his daughter. He enters the classroom and finds the teacher dead, while his daughter and her classmates are frightened. He takes his daughter and exits through the church, but a priest stops him and asks if they want to see. He refers to the possibility of it being God and his angels who have descended to earth, and he is one of those who wants to receive them. After saying this, the priest goes to the streets to see whatever is outside. Sebastian takes his daughter through the streets, covering her eyes to shield her from the tragedies happening around them. They eventually reach their home, and Sebastian's wife Laura greets them. However, as she crosses the street, she is hit by a car and dies. Back in the present, Sebastian encounters a group of people tied to a bus who have seen the beings. One of them is still alive and tells them that they will be taken to the stars in the ships. Sebastian corrects him, believing they are angels, and the man dies shortly after. Later, on top of a building, Sebastian sees a woman entering a pharmacy, and he approaches her wearing his sunglasses. Approaching silently, the woman, named Claire, realizes someone is there and asks who it is. Sebastian remains silent, and then he is surprised by two blindfolded dogs. Their owner arrives and questions Sebastian for not responding. He shows fear, claiming he was robbed, which is why he remains silent, fearing they were other robbers. Suddenly, a gust of wind starts, and before they leave, Sebastian lies, saying he knows where there is a power generator, knowing its importance to everyone. They take him, and one of the beings follows them. The group arrives at the hiding place and enters. Isabel, one of the women in the group, welcomes Sebastian and tells him that it is an anti-aircraft shelter. Inside, Roberto, Isabel's husband, is present, as well as a little girl named Sophia who speaks German. One of the men, Rafa, takes Sebastian for interrogation along with Octavio. They ask him who he is and where he comes from. Sebastian reveals his identity and shares what he knows about the people wandering the city without blindfolds, causing others to see the beings and die. He also confesses that he does not have a generator, which angers them. Rafa wants to throw Sebastian out, but Sophia intervenes. Sebastian demonstrates his understanding of German and speaks the language, which allows him to stay a little longer. They talk with Sophia and learn about what happened to her family. They were going on a boat trip when people started fighting and throwing themselves into the water. Sophia and her mother left the area, and her mother blindfolded Sophia and took her to a van. Later, they heard on the radio about a safe place in a mountain. When asked about the location, Sophia draws a castle on the wall, and Isabel seems to know where the place is, mentioning Montjuic in Barcelona. The little girl recounts getting separated from her mother in the chaos of people on the streets. The group considers the option of going to this safe place, but some are reluctant. They hold a vote, and in the end, the majority decides to go. At dawn, they prepare to leave and make a stop further along the journey. One of them covers himself to assess their location and the path ahead. Later, the group stops at a theater to spend the night. After talking with Claire, Sebastian continues to see the illusion of his daughter. When everyone is asleep, he goes to Rafa's dogs and leaves their collars partially cut. Later, in the city, Sebastian hears whispers and takes off his sunglasses to see. The others become frightened and start hearing voices in their heads, disturbing their minds. The collars of the dogs break, causing them to run off. Sophia, hearing voices, sees a shadow through her blindfold and believes it is her mother. She tries to remove her blindfold to see her but is saved by Octavio before it's too late. Rafa, going after his dogs, hears them crying, and out of love for his pets, he removes his blindfold. As he turns around, he is overtaken by the being and crashes against a car window, dying instantly. His dogs approach the body, and one of them accidentally removes the blindfold and becomes possessed, attacking Roberto and injuring his hand. Meanwhile, Octavio finds a safe place and enters, calling the others to join him. Sebastian eventually returns to them and continues the charade among them. Later, Claire questions how the beings can manipulate their minds, and Octavio, being an intelligent physicist, deduces that the creatures may have a quantum nature, lacking a permanent physical state. This leads him to suggest that when seen, they take on a form based on the viewer's experiences, such as fear, pain, and losses they have had. Some see them as aliens, demons, or even gods. Moments later, Sebastian has a conversation with the young and frightened Sophia. He gives her his daughter's necklace, a pendant with the image of a seraphim, a celestial being closer to God. The scene shifts to 6 months earlier, where a man is taken outside by a group of people, and the priest with the eye symbol in his hand, who had spoken to Sebastian before, is one of those searching for people to see the beings. Later, Sebastian wakes up startled from nightmares, and the illusion of his daughter is beside him. Claire arrives and questions him about his daughter Anna, knowing this because Sophia saw Anna's name on the pendant Sebastian gave her. Claire explains that the beings try to manipulate their minds with familiar things, and Anna's illusion in Sebastian's mind insists that it's a lie. Octavio, Claire, and Sebastian go to search for supplies and close the windows using blindfolds. While Claire searches in the bathroom, Sebastian goes to a room with an open window, and Anna's illusion asks him to tell Octavio that he is safe. Unfortunately, Octavio removes his blindfold, looks outside, sees the being, and quickly ends his own life. Hearing something, Claire approaches them and asks what happened. Sebastian tells her that he's not sure but believes Octavio forgot to close a window and was caught. However, this time something confuses him because he didn't see anything leave Octavio's body. The being urges Sebastian to remove Claire's blindfold, but Sebastian refuses and leads her to the safe room. Once there, Claire shares what happened with the others but admits she isn't entirely sure if it was real. Sebastian ponders why he didn't see the light leaving Octavio's body and questions whether he might be the shepherd who guides souls or the wolf instead. Later, the group continues their journey, but Sebastian realizes they are being watched. Suddenly, a man on a motorcycle surrounds them and attacks. Sebastian, wanting to help, forms a chain and runs into an alley, but Roberto falls behind. Isabel goes back to help him, and as they realize they are cornered by the being and its puppet, they remove their blindfolds and look at each other one last time before sharing a kiss. Sebastian finds refuge in a secure location and is discovered by Claire, who takes his glasses and realizes they can see through them. Sebastian is confused about his purpose but decides to help the two women. The being commands him to open the door, but he refuses. Scared, Claire runs away with Sophia. They head to the rooftop, put on their blindfolds, and go to the terrace. They walk a little, with Sebastian accompanying them. Claire tries to push him away but accidentally falls on scaffolding and becomes unconscious. Sebastian approaches young Sophia, and the being asks him to save her by removing her blindfold. However, when he looks at the illusion of his daughter in his mind, he embraces Sophia instead of removing her blindfold. We are taken back to a time when he and his daughter were celebrating her birthday, even amidst such difficult times. Unfortunately, outside, the priest observes the weak light and now knows that Sebastian is there. Moments later, they start to invade the room, and although Sebastian tries to stop them, he is knocked unconscious. Both of them are taken to the rooftop, where the priest performs a ceremony by drawing the eye symbol on little Anna's forehead and then opening her eyes. The girl looks at the being and is immediately overtaken, finding the creature beautiful. Drawn towards it, Anna approaches the edge of the rooftop, and Sebastian, unable to bear the thought of losing his daughter, opens his eyes and runs toward her to save her. Unfortunately, he doesn't reach her in time, and she falls. Consumed by anger, Sebastian tries to attack the men but is quickly subdued and dominated by the entity, which places the illusion of his daughter beside him. Back in the present, Sebastian wakes up Claire, and the three of them go inside. He asks her to let him help her reach her destination because he can see the way, but Claire doesn't trust him. Sebastian then talks about his daughter, admitting that he allowed himself to be deceived by the illusion due to his loss, as his pain was too great. However, he realized his mistake and came to understand that there is no such thing as being chosen by these creatures, which he now knows are not angels. She reluctantly accepts his help because the danger is imminent, and she has no other choice but to believe him. They descend using the scaffolding, but a possessed person reaches them. Unaware that Sebastian can see, she approaches them, but he confronts her and manages to knock her off the building in a struggle. The three of them descend and get into a functioning car. They are attacked but manage to escape. Moments later, they arrive at their destination, a tall tower with cable cars. Before leaving, Sebastian lights a cloth on the car's fuel entry point, then he runs, and when their pursuers get close, the car explodes, delaying them. Sebastian tells them to go ahead as he needs to delay the men since he is the only one who can go without a blindfold. The two women slowly ascend, but at one point, Sophia almost falls from a great height. However, Claire saves her by holding onto her hand tightly and brings her back to safety. Fearless of the surrounding evil, Claire removes her blindfold and continues. Back to Sebastian, he stops in front of the false pastor, who initially appears friendly, but Sebastian states that false prophets come in sheep's clothing to deceive many. The servant of the entity claims to be its right-hand man and wants to help Sebastian, but Sebastian, encouraged and fueled by anger at their responsibility for his daughter's death, grabs a rod and stands firm to confront them. Meanwhile, Claire reaches the control room on the top floor, but she struggles to activate anything. Then, she notices a bell hanging there and understands what she must do. Claire realizes that she needs to send an audible signal to the other side so that whoever is there can help them. However, the entity decides to go after them, and Claire, sensing its approach, closes her eyes. Suddenly, the cable cars start operating. Sebastian fights his enemy and impales him with the rod, but the false pastor injures Sebastian's leg with a piece of wood and attempts to kill him. Despite being wounded by the rod, Sebastian fights fiercely and sacrifices himself to give Claire and Sophia a chance, ultimately eliminating the man. Meanwhile, the entity tries to manipulate their minds, causing Claire to release Sophia. Fortunately, Claire regains her composure and saves the little girl just as she is about to walk to her death. Claire then counts the exact time to jump into the cable car since the base is broken. Before the entity can disturb them again, the two manage to leap into the cable car. They remove their blindfolds and find themselves safe. Meanwhile, Sebastian lies on the ground, waiting for his time to depart. Claire and Sophia reach their destination and are greeted by well-armed soldiers who guide them inside, where Claire sees people cultivating food. It is a secure location high up in the mountains. Fortunately, Sophia's mother is there too, and she runs to embrace her daughter. Moments later, Claire is taken for some tests to ensure she is well and not one of the entity's servants, referred to as seers by the soldiers. The soldiers are surprised that she survived, and Claire explains that she is only there because one of them helped her. They collect her blood to search for a DNA with an epigenetic alteration that may make traumas easier to handle. The soldier mentions that they are testing the blood samples from the seers to determine if they all have the same epigenetic condition, in the hopes of finding a means of salvation for humanity. The scene changes, and scientists test serums produced from a man who is a servant of the entity under their control on mice. The mice are placed in a chamber to be exposed to the entity. When the mice see it, they don't last long. Their hearts race, and they quickly die. However, the scientists do not give up and prepare for more tests.